Welcome back to the Pesky Report. This is episode 469 nice of the Pesky Report, brought to you by Beyond the Monster. My name is Derek. As always, I'm here with Jake and Hunter. We have a lot to get into, and we're going to start right at the top of the ladder in Worcester, and we're going to forego tradition for this episode at least, and I'm going to be handing it to Hunter first, as Hunter actually was there as they played Lehigh Valley, the Phillies AAA affiliate, where Worcester went 2-4 this week. So I'll hand it over to you, Hunter. How was the week getting to see Worcester play, and what information do you have for us? I'm sure you've got some nice nuggets for us.
It was very rainy. It rained a lot. First few days were a little cold, so that kind of made it hard. I didn't really talk to anyone outside of, just I would go out on the field before the games and say hi to some people and stuff, but I didn't really get any big scoops for a couple of reasons. One, with it being rainy and cold. They didn't even have batting practice like three of the games because the grounds crew was out the whole time, so people just weren't out on the field. And then it was just one of those things where I didn't really want to bother people with the main talking point right now is first base, and it felt like there really wasn't much to ask people about that. Like, I'm sure they've all already been asked the same question, and I'm not one of the people that likes to dig. I know that's something people have gotten on certain reporters for, with like Rafael Devers just asking him the same question over and over and over. And like, I'm sure Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer have been asked 37 times, hey, would you play first base if they asked you to? I'm sure Vaughn Grisham doesn't want to talk about it right now. Like, I don't think it's probably their favorite topic. I did get to see, and I sent it in the group chat, the Pork Illustrated picture of Andy Tracy roast beef. I was very happy to see that. I'm sure that's been in the press box right behind where I sit every single time I've gone in. And this was the first time I've noticed it because I was eating pizza and I was like, I didn't want to sit down because like my computer was there and everything. So I was just kind of like walking around with it. And I was like, oh my God, there's a picture. And it's like all the different, apparently one year they did like a Pork Illustrated and had like all the magazine covers from the year. And the one was Andy Tracy. And it said like Pork of the Year or something like that. I forget what it said, but that made me very happy. From a playing standpoint, my God, Lehigh Valley is, I guess Worcester deserves some flack too, but apparently, according to the people in the press box, it is an issue with Lehigh Valley. Their games take forever. The one game was over 4 hours long. There were rain delays, which made games take long. The one game, there was a drone delay because someone flew a drone onto the field. So it was every game. It felt like I was there for 4 hours. Luckily, the last, or longer than that, because I show up 2 hours before the game. But luckily, the last game of the series was nice and quick. Kind of made things go by a little bit faster. But even that game, there was an injury delay, which I'll talk about in a minute. But Shane Drohan looked really good in his start. 3 innings, 1 hit, 1 run on 3 hits in 3 innings, struck out 3, only walked 1. Nobody in the press box knew why he was taken out of the game. He only threw 46 pitches. Didn't seem like there was any discomfort or anything. Like, everyone was asking, like, what happened? Why is he, like, he looked great. Why did he come out? People were wondering if, like, oh, does he usually just not throw a lot of pitches? I was like, no, that was shorter for him than usual. And then even on the broadcast, they have like the game on in the booth, and you could hear the Lehigh Valley announcers talking about it. And they even said they asked the Worcester broadcast team, like, what's going on? And even they had no idea why he was taken out. I'm going to assume it wasn't an injury, or at the very least wasn't anything serious, because that was like right at the start of the week. And there has still been nothing about Shane Drohan. So I'm just going to assume that was, for whatever reason, he was taken out of the game early and it wasn't anything serious. But just another really positive step for him. We're at the point, this was the point 2 years ago where Shane Drohan, the wheels really started to fall off. Obviously, he got promoted to AAA, so you could argue, oh, he was just at a new level. But like, we saw the velo drop, and he wasn't hitting his spots nearly as well. Like, the control was gone, and he was just getting battered in AAA. So it's good to see him getting past the point he was 2 years ago where bad things happened, and him still being a very good pitcher. We've talked about it already a couple times, so we're definitely getting to the point with Shane Drohan where it feels like he is going to get a chance at some point. I mean, he's a left-handed pitcher. I could easily see him being a bullpen piece for them at some point. They don't really need lefties in the bullpen right now. They have a ton of those, but he's 100% someone to keep an eye on. You can never have too many pitchers, especially left-handed pitchers. I mean, we've already seen this year a lot of injuries happen. So he's just someone that he will be major league depth at some point this year. Josh Winkowski also looked really good. He only went 3 1/3. I believe he struck the guy out, and then he kind of like waved over the trainer. Like it didn't look like anything bad. He just kind of like did the shoulder circle a couple times, and they talked to him for a minute. He clearly wanted to stay in the game. He threw one pitch, like one warm-up pitch, looked perfectly fine, and then just kind of like nodded his head and they walked off the field. So no idea what's going on there. I'm sure that's something they go back to Worcester and he'll get x-rayed and stuff, but it doesn't seem like the most positive thing in the world. Like for him to throw one pitch and just kind of shake his head, that makes me feel like it's more than just soreness, because I know some people aren't the biggest Josh Winkowski fans, but I think one thing you have to say about him is he's a gamer. It seems like he really wants to be in there. So I feel like that's maybe not the most positive thing, but I mean, also no idea. Hopefully he's good. Luis Guerrero looked really good in his outings. He had a little bit of control issues at one point, but for the most part, he pitched. I believe it was the second night. He threw 2 innings. I was kind of shocked they had him go the second inning, but when he was out there, the whole time I was just thinking, why is he here? I don't understand it. He's just very clearly too good for AAA. I know the numbers aren't like incredible. It's not like he was perfect in these outings either, but he's also very clearly like working on things while he's down there, which is a good thing. That could be why he's in AAA. But I mean, we've seen him dominate in the majors, so it's just one of those frustrating things. Brian Van Bell had a really bad first inning, cleaned it up. That was nice to see. Isaiah Campbell 100% looks like someone. I know we've talked about Nick Birdie a lot being like the guy, and he probably should be when they need help. 15 2/3 innings. He's given up 1 run, 22 strikeouts, 4 walks. But Isaiah Campbell looks really good. Like struggled terribly last year. But he was someone that the Red Sox traded for last year in the hopes of him being a bullpen guy. So I still think that there is a lot to like about him. And then one of the reasons I think AAA games take so long, and I'm going to try to say this in the nicest way possible, there's a lot of like major league reject pitchers, like relievers that just couldn't cut it in AAA. So what I noticed a lot on both teams was you would have a guy that comes in who's throwing like 98, and one at bat he would dot up the first 2 guys perfectly, and then the next 4 guys he wouldn't hit the strike zone, and all of a sudden he walks the bases loaded, and then the next guy he throws like a hanging slider right down the middle, and it's just the amount of blown saves and their blown leads in these games was ridiculous. From the hitting side though, Roman Anthony's had a very strange month. He's hitting 324 in May. He's got 12 hits, but all of them are singles. I saw someone on Twitter kind of like knocking him for that when he had 11 hits. They were like, oh, his last 11 hits have all been singles. Like what's going on? Like, why isn't anybody talking about this? First off, yeah, he's still hitting 324 in May. I don't care. And second, he's hitting the ball very hard. It's not like he's hitting bloop singles to the opposite field. Like he's hitting the ball on a line. It's just he's maybe not getting the launch angles that he wants at the moment. But I'm not going to, if he wants to hit singles for a little bit and get the average up a ton, that's fine. It's going to happen. You're not always going to hit doubles and triples and home runs. But he I've never not been impressed with Roman Anthony. Even when he has an 0 for game, he tends to work long at bats. He draws walks. He's clearly like the most terrifying hitter in the lineup. And then Marcelo Meyer got moved up to number 2 this week. I think this was the first week where he was the number 2 hitter. He was mainly hitting in the 3-hole all year. And so that's just fun seeing him and Roman Anthony like officially back-to-back in the lineup. I was really hoping to get to see the back-to-back home runs at some point this week. We did not get those, but he did have a triple. He had a double. He's up to 35 RBIs. He is, I don't know how to word it, because him and Roman Anthony have very similar but different at-bats at the same time. Like Roman Anthony, you feel like he's more in control of the at-bat, but Marcelo Meyer, you feel like he's more liable to just like kill a pitcher at any moment and just make them want to cry. But they both like give you that feeling of something is going to happen in the moment. It's just always fun to get to see them. The thing that stood out to me was the first game of the week. It was an 11 a.m. game. Blake Sabol hit 2 home runs, including a go-ahead grand slam in the top of the 10th. So that was just one of those things that made me chuckle. He struggled in the majors. Fans really soured on him. He goes back to the AAA, and he's not letting it bother him. He's producing. I think that's a big positive. Fans might not be thrilled with him as an option, but he's still an option. If a catcher goes down, it's going to be him or Yasmani Grandal. Like those are the two guys. So as much as fans weren't happy, he's still a top option. So to see him do good things is great. Nathan Hickey's really struggled this month. He's 3 for 28. He did hit a grand slam this week. I was really hoping that would get him going. But then I think he went like 1 for 9 the rest of the series. He's in an interesting spot though, because of the whole question marks at first base. I'll talk about this later, but it's the AAA depth is him and Alex Pinellas at the moment. And they don't really seem that interested in playing Alex Pinellas, and Nathan Hickey's struggling. So I'm intrigued what they do there. Obviously Nick Sogard just got called up with Romy Gonzales going down. Something that really stood out to me, Vaughn Grisham played 1 game at first base this week. Wasn't there just a report last week that like they wanted to start focusing on Vaughn Grisham playing first? I don't know what happened
where Tracy himself too.
Yeah,
Tracy
I don't know what happened where clearly they went back on that, but like he missed a couple games. He only played 1 at first. He played second a couple times. Like and just the fact that they called up Nick Sogard, I don't know. It feels like that's maybe not the best trend for him in the eyes of the system. And then just one other note, Tyler McDonough was on the field before basically every game doing drills and stuff. So he's hopefully very close to coming back. Very excited for when that happens. He was 10 for 30 with a double, a homer, 333 average, 412 on base percentage in 9 games. This is a good chance for him to kind of get a shot in the majors at some point this year with Casas going down. Tyler McDonough really has never played first, but he has played everywhere else. And he is not like a top prospect where I could see them maybe trying to throw him at first base and seeing what happens. He's a switch hitter, good on base percentage. So I'm hoping he comes back and gets a chance to prove himself, because he's always been a really good minor league player, and someone that it was always like, is he going to get a shot in the majors? And obviously it's a very crappy situation that Tristan Casas went down, but this might be an opening for him to get a chance in the majors. But I'm going to let someone else talk, because clearly I'm about to
die. Hunter is very thorough, and it hurts his voice sometimes. So on the first base situation, I think definitely fair to not kind of push about what's going on there, and definitely very interesting given the comments that Grissom was going to spend more time at first base, that he only played 1 more game there. I think that we kind of have to look at the sequence of events of things that have happened here, where there's like this clear opening at the big league level at first base, and Grissom doesn't get an opportunity to get promoted the first time. They go with Toro. Then Romy Gonzales gets hurt, and the next person they go to is Nick Sogard. I think it's a bad sign for how the organization feels about Grissom ultimately. And I think there's been some stuff that's floated around a little bit of some of the numbers that basically Grissom does a really good job at like hitting below average fastball velocity, which is kind of something that happens a lot in AAA. But Because you're only going to face so many above average velocity fastballs in AAA anyway, because a lot of the guys with above average velocity are in the big leagues. But and then there had been there was some notes. There was a note from Chris Hatfield about how much Grissom had struggled since that Rochester series when all of the bats for Worcester really went off. Like he had no extra base hits and 7 for 50. That looked like that was before yesterday's game. And I think that it just goes to show like the fact that they went to Sogard, like they basically had two utility quote unquote infielder options. They went with Sogard, who has played, I think in Worcester had played less first base so far this season than Grissom had. But, they go to Kansas City and Sogard gets like 2 starts at first base in that series. So I think they trust Sogard a lot more, just as a sort of guy that could potentially play every day, a guy that's is a switch hitter that's not going to kill them with the bat, and is versatile. Can competent. The Red Sox know that he can competently play multiple positions. I know that. I don't necessarily think of Sogard as a shortstop, but he could at least play there. I mean, they have as long as David Hamilton's healthy, they don't necessarily have to worry about the backup shortstop thing. But he can move around. He can play the outfield a little bit too. So I think that he made sense as the guy to come up. I do think that there had been some talk that maybe Refsnyder was going to have to go on the IL as well, but he seems like he's okay and is not going to have to go on the IL. I was curious about who that would have been. Would they have called up both Grissom and Sogard in that case? Possibly. Could they have tried to go with somebody who's more of a pure outfielder like Nate Eaton or Trace Thompson? Not really sure, but we'll find out that soon enough. And I know there was a lot of people that were either legitimately upset or performatively upset that Anthony and Meyer were not in the mix to get called up when Romy Gonzales or both like Refsnyder goes on the IL. And I just want to point out that like Refsnyder in particular, and also, I mean, Romy Gonzales was getting a lot more playing time with Casas being hurt, but those guys were both like bench players. And if they're platooning at first base, a guy like Toro, who is lefty, is going to play more. Toro's in the lineup tonight in a game against the Tigers. You're not going to have backups go on the IL and then call up your top prospects to sit on the bench and be backups. I don't feel like I feel like I shouldn't have to explain this, but again, I know that people really want Anthony and Meyer in the big leagues, and I certainly do too, but like get a grip, like on the expectations here. Like the guys have to they have to play. Like Anthony and Meyer have to play every day. I did just want to bring up about Meyer some of the stuff. Like he's had I'll mention that Roman Anthony hasn't really hit for a lot of power since he like hit that ball off his foot. So I don't know that is affecting him. It's obviously not affecting his at bats. He has a ton of walks and he's getting on base. Just hasn't had a lot of like extra base hits necessarily. Like those haven't been falling in. The flip side of that is that Roman Anthony or that Marcelo Meyer has been really crushing the ball, especially over the last month, basically since mid-April. He has 5 home runs in that time period. And there was an interesting tidbit from a scout who told Rob Bradford, he said that Myers looked better lately than Roman Anthony. He's turning around 97-mile-an-hour fastballs like they're nothing, that he's ready now. I think like if you look at those, again, you look at those statistics of hitting balls that are like higher average fastballs. I know that like Anthony's not having any trouble with those. Meyer, I think, is somewhere in the middle, kind of between like Grissom and Anthony is. But I think like Meyer's really getting this opportunity to really put it all together. So it's really exciting. I would say let's just try to enjoy it as opposed to like just wondering like when they're going to be in the big leagues, whatever. These guys are awesome. They're top prospects. They're top 10 prospects in baseball. I feel like I say it every week. Like let's just like really try to enjoy what those guys are doing, and that the opportunity to perform in the big leagues will come for both of those guys soon enough.
I just have one note on your Nick Sogard Vaughn Grissom thing. To your point, Nick Sogard has played 3 games, 18 innings at first base in AAA this year.
Yeah.
He's also hitting 180. He was also hitting 188 in AAA with a 248 slugging percentage. So that really does feel telling that he was the option over Vaughn Grissom when both are on the 40-man. It's not like it was And then also with to add on to your Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer not getting called up point, not only would they be bench players, but like Rob Refschneider is so fine that they're not even putting him on the IL. Like that would have been like a 7-day IL stint. They weren't going to call up Roman Anthony to have him play 3 games and then send him back down. Like that just wasn't going to happen. So that's just a little extra. Yeah, it's that felt like people complaining because there's a lot to get mad about with the team right now, and that just shouldn't be one of them. And then what was the other thing we're talking about?
I don't know.
Oh, Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer. The scout saying that Marcelo Meyer. Yeah, I saw a lot of discourse about that. People saying like, I tweeted out when Rafael Devers hit the homer. I said something just like, I want to tweet something, but I don't want to get yelled at. And everyone was like speculating what it was. I just wanted to say I don't think Rafael Devers should play first base. My point was this guy's mashing baseballs. He's clearly gotten comfortable at DH, and he's been the best hitter in baseball, not counting Aaron Judge, who isn't a human, since basically the second week of baseball. I don't want to mess with that. I don't want to put him on first and chance him getting hurt or getting in his own head or whatever. But a lot of people, when I tweeted that, were speculating like, oh, is it that you think Marcelo's better than Roman? And I don't know why, as Red Sox fans, we are pitting these two against each other. They're both on our favorite team. Like, instead of arguing who's better, who gives a shit? Like,
seriously,
they're both on the team and going to be on the team, hopefully for the next 15 plus years. Like, I don't care if Roman Anthony ends up being a star and Marcelo Meyer ends up being a superstar MVP, or the other way around. If they're both on the team, I'm happy. And I don't care if it's Christian Campbell that ends up being the best, or Cedar Rafaela, or Franklin Arias. I don't care. Like, just be happy that they're on their team. The fact that I had people literally arguing in my mentions, like, you're stupid because you said that you think Marcelo's better. Why do you care? That should be a cool discussion of, oh, why do you think he's better? That's cool. That's great that they're both on our team. I don't know. I feel like Red Sox fans are looking for things to be mad about right now because of the whole Rafael Devers, John Henry, Craig Breslow situation. And the team just won 2 games against a really good team, and Rafael Devers is AL Player of the Week, and we have 2 of the best prospects in the world, and we should try to find some ways to smile right now because the team's actually looking positive at the moment. But yeah, that's my soapbox yell of the day.
I will just add to it, just to the whole kind of picture of everything here. I did do a little bit of digging on Meyer and Anthony. Roman's strikeout rate this year is about 21%, which it's up from his time in AAA last year, but I think it's down a tad bit overall between AA and AAA last year. And his walk rate's at 18%. So just Roman Anthony being Roman Anthony. Marcelo Meyer, his strikeout rate's 19%, which is, I think, dipped a little bit from last year, or is around the same, something like that. I think it dipped a little bit. And then his walk rate is about 9%. So the one thing I did look at with Myers, he already got 13 extra base hits on this year, added 2 this week as well. And he had 4 walks this week with just 3 strikeouts. I think that's a big thing for him this week. But we talk about kind of like interesting options, guys potentially maybe being in the big leagues, and I'll keep the first base combo going a little bit. This is like the out of the box idea, but like Nate Eaton's played some infield. You want to go out of the box? Like, he's played in his minor league career. He's played shortstop. He's played second. He's played 7 games at third this year. Last year, he played 42 games at third base, right? Not saying it'd be, it's not the most obvious option, but I mean, if you want to try something, like, there's a lot worse ways you could go. He's also got an 842 OPS this year in Worcester. So, and he has big league experience. So, could be in a potentially interesting option if they start running out of other options, because in Worcester right now, like you said, Hunter, it's Benelis and Hickey, and Hickey's had his struggles as of late. Benelis is barely playing. Grissom only got 1 game at first base again. And I know Eaton did play third base. He got a start at third base this week. So
he got taken out he didn't get taken out. He moved his position in, I believe it was the 9th inning. I don't know if I've ever seen more positional moves because of one pinch hitter ever. Nathan Hickey pinch hit for Philip Sykes, and then it was like Hickey was playing right, so then they moved him to first. Vaughn Grisham moved from first to second. Marcelo Meyer moved from second to short. Nick Sogard moved from short to third, and Nate Eaton moved from third to right field. And I was like, this all is just so ridiculous.
It's just
like,
a mess if you're
every single person was like, our scorecards
you
look
just
like
move
crap
Hickey
right now.
down from right. Everyone moves one spot to the left, and then Eaton gets recycled from infield to the right side, left side of the infield to the right side of the outfield.
It was funny. Literally, everyone just moved one station over. Like,
It's funny.
There was no like crazy movement. It was just everybody moved 45 feet.
No, but I think too. Ian also too. He had 5 hits this week. I had a double and a homer, as well. Just in kind of the positional breakdown for him, he's played 21 games in center field this year, 10 in right, 7 at third, and then 1 in left. So he has moved around a bit. And then I was just kind of doing some more digging on that as well, looking at his baseball reference page. And he played 2 games at second base last year. Hasn't played second base this year yet, but played 8 games there in 2023. Played a little bit there in 2022 as well. Also played some shortstop in 2022. That's a little bit a while ago, but it is interesting seeing that they're, with the amount of infielders that aren't in Worcester anymore, with Sogard getting moved up, with with Toro getting moved up, the infield options become limited. And I think Sox Prospects, even right now, has Eaton listed as their third baseman on Worcester's roster, considering I think the only other infielder is Gonzales, and then Carson Seamus is up there, but I wouldn't expect him to start too much. So I think it is going to be interesting seeing, as long as Sogard and Toro are both in the big leagues, how much run Eaton might get at like third base, for example. I think that's going to be interesting to see. I don't have anything else on the position players. Every single pitcher I even had written down. I had Guerrero, Birdie, and Winkowski written down. They've all been talked about. So I got nothing left to cover in Worcester. So I think it's a perfect time to make the move to Portland. And Portland this week went 2-3 against Chesapeake, the Orioles AA affiliate. And there's nothing better than the return of Allan Castro. Nothing beats it. The fan club's back. Castro obviously playing in his first 2 games this week since opening day on April 4th. He went 1 for 5 with a double, 2 RBIs, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts. Just may not be the real player of the week, but in my heart, player of the week, Allan Castro. Welcome back. On top of that, Hunter did bring up Blaze Jordan. He had a really nice week. He went 4 for 14, couple doubles, 3 RBIs. But I think the big thing for him, he had 6 walks, 500 on-base percentage for the week. And I did mention it last week how he had already had 10 walks this year compared to the 18 he had last year. Now he's up to 16 walks this year. His walk rate's up from 4.7% to 13.7% this year. That's a 9% increase. I thought that was really big. But just to kind of get to the big story of the week, Jhostynxon Garcia had back-to-back walk-off hits. I'll hand it over to you, Jake. What are your thoughts on the week that Jhostynxon Garcia had, and especially those 2 big walk-off hits that were kind of a nice cap for the weekend for the Sea Dogs?
Yeah, so Captain Clutch, great call from Emma Tiedemann. I think she said what the password is walk-off. Like, it was just was such a great line. So yeah, the first game, it's the 9th inning, and he gets a good pitch on the outside corner and just drives it out to right field, just like really showing the opposite field power there. And then the next day, that one was in the 10th inning. Chesapeake had gone up in the top half of the inning. Guys on second and third, and he just drives the ball down the left field line, and drives in both runs to win the game. So that's like seriously great hitting on both sides of it for him. I think that Garcia's gotten off to kind of an interesting start. He's been kind of good. He's been kind of not so good in different stretches. But right now, on the season, he is sitting at a 286, 396, 418 slash line. So the 396 on base is really outstanding to see that his plate discipline is really getting there, and he's doing his thing against AA pitching. I think that there's obvious reasons why they decided to add him to the 40-man roster because of how much he can do all these different things. He's so good defensively in center field. He's like really rock solid there. As guys kind of move up in the system, I assume that at some point this year he will hopefully get a chance to move up to Worcester, but I think that's going to depend on what happens with like Anthony and other guys in the outfield up there. So it's great to see him get the spotlight. There's been so much focus on some of the on the prospects in Worcester, and I know that Portland is not quite as prospect laden this year as maybe it has been in the past, but he's like the guy to watch. I want to talk just a little bit about other guys that you mentioned. Blaze Jordan. I think that 4 for 14 this week. We were talking about this a little bit before we came on. I just don't know at this point how much longer they can realistically keep him in AA. Just 368 on base is good. I know, but 398 slug isn't amazing. I think that we still need to see him like hitting for more consistent power while not giving up his ability to make contact and get on base. You would hope that would come at a certain point, but 700 plate appearances over the course of like 3 seasons in Portland at one level. I don't know how much more he's going to learn there. I just hope that he can get that opportunity, because there is now a chance for him to play with the fact that like you have a guy at the big league level who's out for the year and other guys that are in AAA that are in the majors now, that were in AAA that are in the majors now. That feels like that would be the opportunity to get Blaze up to Worcester, and it hasn't happened yet. So I think it should happen. And then last guy I just want to talk about is Mikey Romero, who had a huge week, 5 for 14, 2 RBIs, 2 doubles on the season. He's at 280, 368, 530. So like really solid OPS there from Romero. And I didn't read the article because unfortunately well, it is what it is. I let my my Baseball America subscription lapse, bad on me. But basically there was a tweet from earlier today about how Mikey Romero's max exit velo is way up this year, and they're sort of wondering is Mikey Romero another success of the Red Sox bat speed training program? My guess is that he is. We've seen this an overall better approach from him, and same thing of like, I think he needs to really. I think he should. Hopefully, he'll get most of this year to cook in AA, and that maybe next year we could see him move up. But I think that he's in that. That next wave of guys that's going to get into the like top 100 lists on like Baseball America and stuff like that, just because he's such an all-around good player, and he's the promise with his bat that we thought we were going to see when he got drafted is starting to really show up. So that's all I have on the hitters for Portland.
A couple quick notes. Just Aaron Leando didn't have the best week in the world, but he drew a couple more walks, 14 steals, just 1 caught stealing. Max Ferguson also didn't have the best week, but also drew a couple walks, got on base in some clutch situations. He's 9 for 9 in steals. Those two just continuously, whenever they do get on, creating a ton of havoc. Portland in general has been great at stealing bases. Jhostynxon Garcia's got 4. Corey Rozier has 2. Carson Simas has 3. Mikey Romero has 3. Caden Rose has 4. Blaze Jordan and Ronald Rosario have both stolen a base. So they've really just been that's been one of the trademarks of the team this year. One of the things that stood out to me, and you guys kind of mentioned it with all 3 of them, is we talked to Blaze Jordan about it. We talked to Mikey Romero about it. Both of them talked about wanting to get better at walking this year, at drawing walks this year. That was something that I believe it was the Sox prospects guys mentioned with Jhostynxon Garcia, was that they wanted him that the team wanted him to improve his eye and his swing and miss. All 3 of them are just like vastly it's such a clear improvement. Like it's watch one game and you'll see how much better they are at taking pitches or laying off something, drawing walks, whatever it's night and day for all 3 of them. So kudos to whoever they worked with. I don't know if it was someone on the Portland staff, someone in the Red Sox organization in general, something they did on their own, whatever it is, all 3 of them, it has done wonders for their game. Mikey Romero's on a 5-game hitting streak at the moment. He's up to 280. Portland did not play a ton this week. That has been a theme of their entire season. They just continuously get rained out. It is getting frustrating. So Mikey Romero only appeared in 3 games this week, so that's why I say he has a 5-game hitting streak. And Jake said he had 5 hits this week. It's not like he just had 1 hit in each game. He only played in 3. So he is doing very well. And yeah, it's very clear how much harder he's hitting the ball. That's phenomenal to see. Jhostynxon Garcia, again with the walks, it's been everything with him though. Like last year he had 33 walks. This year he's already up to 18. He doesn't really, the power hasn't shown up as much. He's only got 2 home runs. But there's been clear improvement in his game from this year to last year, even with that massive breakout this year. Like I'm very happy with what we've seen from him so far, and I fully expect to see the power show up at some point. I think that walk-off homer might be a great catalyst for him moving forward. And I don't remember who it was. I listened to too many Red Sox podcasts. I don't know if it was Section 10, 310 to left, Sox prospects, pot on Lansdowne, whoever it was. Someone mentioned it last. Who did the Red Sox play before the Royals? The Twins?
Is it the Twins? Yeah. Wasn't it the Twins?
I think so. Someone on the Twins hit a foul ball to or the Blue Jays. It might have been the Blue Jays. It was Dalton Varsho. So whenever that series was.
Okay. I think that
Dalton
was
Varsho hit a foul ball to the right field, barely past the right field foul pole, just barely foul. And then the very next pitch, he hit a home run to left field or the other way around. And whoever it was like, I don't know how many times I've seen that. That is exactly what Jhostynxon Garcia did with his walk-off homer. The pitch before, he hit 420 feet to left field, and it was just barely foul. And then the very next pitch, he hit an opposite field home run. That's very impressive to me. To immediately show the power from both sides of the field. And I've never been in a walk-off situation, in a serious situation, not counting maybe minor little league baseball when I was younger. But the nerves, I'm sure, are ridiculous. And I'm sure just barely hitting a foul ball home run, I could see it kind of working both ways of firing you up. Yeah, okay, I'm on it and I just need to straighten it out a little bit. But I could also see it kind of pissing you off a little bit and damn, that sucks. Now that I just wasted my good swing. And then just one thing about Garcia that kind of has nothing to do with Garcia. But I tweeted out both walk-offs. And on the second one, Carabas retweeted it. And whenever he retweets it, I love it, obviously, because it gets a lot more traction. But it also tends to bring a lot of weirdos into my Twitter. And this is just me as a writer, as someone that makes content and stuff, who hates AI. Please do not come into my mentions asking Grok how to pronounce Jhostynxon Garcia's name when Emma Tiedemann very clearly in the video says Jhostynxon Garcia 3 times. I fucking hate AI. Please do not ask AI in my mentions. That is the quickest way for me to mute you and never just.
Oh, I got an AI story for you, Hunter. Hunter, I have an AI story for you.
That bothers me so much. I am a writer. Please do not ask an AI about things when it is trying to take my job and it is the least creative thing in the world. And that is my quick get AI out of my mentions.
It's also on his Sox prospects page. It takes 2 seconds to Google something. Yeah, also, too, if we want to get all weird about AI, I went to Wendy's drive-thru the other day, and they had an AI thing in the drive-thru taking orders. It wasn't even a real person. It was just wild. AI. And I was just I don't know how I feel about this. I was
they're coming for your burgers. They're coming for your.
Yeah, I'm what the hell? I'm what are we doing here? You got an AI taking my order. AI on Twitter asking people how to pronounce a name that's not that hard to pronounce if you just look it up.
And then
you gotta type it into Twitter anyways. Just look it up.
Seriously, you utilize the same amount of energy to actually find it.
The most amazing part to me was in the video, she says Jhostynxon Garcia 3 times. You clearly didn't watch the video. I don't know why you're asking the question. But anyway, with Blaze Jordan, I floated it last week. I mentioned it on Twitter, kind of got flamed by a couple people for it. Some people seem to be all for the idea, but some people weren't too thrilled with my idea of throwing him in AAA, seeing how that goes, give it a month, call him up to the majors. I completely agree with what Jake said. How much more is he going to do it double A? He's had damn near 700 plate appearances there. An important thing to remember with him, he just turned 22 in December. Like, I feel like that's it. He's been known for so long, and he's been in the system for a couple of years now. He got drafted when he was like barely 18. So I feel like people think that this is some like lost 25-year-old prospect who just never made it out of double A. Like, he will spend the entire year as a 22-year-old. This is not some, oh, he's a bust of a prospect who's never going to make it. There's a very clear path for him to still have a very productive and long major league career. And I had a lot of people telling me like this was the worst idea ever. I'm stupid, blah, blah, blah. Just kind of to vindicate myself a little bit. He's 9 for 30, 300 with 8 walks in May. He's got like 3 or 4 doubles. He's hit both his home runs. He leads the team with the 8 doubles. He leads the team with 20 runs scored. He is second on the team with 19 runs. The only person ahead of him is Mikey Romero, who's 21. And he continues to play a phenomenal first base. He's also playing third base every once in a while, but obviously first base is the position they would need him at. He's made some very clear improvements, and yeah, the home runs haven't really shown up this year, but he's hitting the ball very hard. Like, anytime, if you go search his name on like Red Sox development, anytime they post like, Blaze Jordan 2-run double, they always show the exit velo, and it's always like 112 miles an hour, 110 miles an hour, 109 miles an hour. And that's something he does consistently. Like, the ball tends to leave his bat very hard. So yeah, I'm still very much on the let's get him to AAA sooner rather than later. And I'm not trying to crap on anyone. I'm not trying to call people out. But one thing that was brought up to me was like, there's already too many options in AAA of people that could be first baseman. As I mentioned before, Nathan Hickey hit a grand slam this week. He's 3 for 28 in May. He's striking out a lot. He's not walking. He's newer to the position. He just started playing it last year and barely played it last year. And they really don't seem interested in Alex Pinellas. I like Alex Pinellas. I think he's a very solid player. He's played 11 games this year, and only like 4 of them have been at first base. He's been like mainly a DH, and he played 1 game at third. And like even this week, Tyler Miller, who didn't play the outfield at all last year, Portland had him in the outfield. Like there's a lot of options ahead of Blaze Jordan and at the same level as Blaze Jordan who don't make as much sense to me as Blaze Jordan. Like, he is the one that is, I don't want to say a true first baseman because he got drafted as a third baseman, but he is like the one who is far and away the most first base experience. He's the one that, like I said, Alex Pinellas, they don't seem too invested in him. Nathan Hickey's struggling. Like, I do think there is a path for if they want to call up Blaze Jordan tomorrow, it's not going to all of a sudden demolish everyone else's playing time. You could still get him at first. Nathan Hickey can still play first every once in a while, DH. They're not playing Vaughn Grisham at first anyway. They're not really playing Alex Pinellas for whatever reason. So I very much think that there is a clear path for Blaze Jordan to get the call up to AAA very soon. And you give him 1-2 months there, see how it goes. I mean, obviously, if he needs more time there, he needs more time there. But there is a world where he goes up there, produces really well, and could be a major league option by July. Something important to remember is last year, obviously, Nick York was really good in AA 2 years ago. And then he started last year in AA. People were a little surprised about it, but he didn't put up great numbers in AA. And then when he got called up to AAA, he really put it all together. And I think that was a combination of maybe he was working on some things in AA, but also I don't think AAA pitching is that big of a jump. Like, there's a lot of failed major league pitchers there, major league depth guys there who throw 90, 91, who aren't, these elite pitchers, where in AA, I feel like you tend to be facing more like prospects who throw 98, 99, have a disgusting wipeout slider. Like, these are guys who tend to have a couple years in the majors and just aren't good enough to be there at the moment. So like, it wouldn't shock me if he went up to AAA and put up better numbers and started hitting more home runs. I think Blaze Jordan at Polar Park would be very fun to watch. So yeah, I'm still, I don't care that I've gotten some negative comments. I'm still very much on the let's push Blaze Jordan to AAA sooner rather than later, because I think that that's still a very realistic option for them to go.
I also want to add on that fact too, just like Blaze Jordan is Rule 5 eligible this offseason, and like, yeah, it's not gonna make them make a decision on him, but like at the same time, like this, if Blaze Jordan, you move him up to AAA and he plays well, it's like, okay, you add him to the 40 man, and at worst, he's your first base depth in AAA to start next year, right? That's on the 40 man, because we saw it last year. We've kind of seeing it somewhat this year. You know, there's not a ton of first base depth in the system. Last year they had to go get Dom Smith and Garrett Cooper, and you know, Dom Smith was all right for a little bit, but let's be honest, Dom Smith was never going to last for like long term or anything, or be a consistent, like, you know, I think you look at it this year, like as much as Abraham Toro is going to step in and play some first base, like we're not expecting Abraham Toro to be the first baseman the rest of the year. We're not, right? Even Romy Gonzales, we're not expecting it out of him. Nick Sogard isn't really a first baseman, more of a utility guy, right? So like if Sogard, when Romy's healthy, Sogard goes back to AAA potentially, doesn't mean Sogard's going to be playing first base in Worcester. So that first base spot is still very much open. And I think with Blaze, like, yes, the plate appearances, he's had more than enough plate appearances in Portland. And I do think in some ways, like, because he is Rule 5 eligible, it's very much, you can very much make the semi-argument of like, well, let's see what you got, right? Why not? Like, you're 22 years old. He's 22 years old. He's played it's like a boatload in Portland already. Like, it's like there's not a ton else he's really going to do in Portland at this point, I feel like, in some ways, too. It's like he's been there like almost 150 games almost or something like that. Like, there's not a ton else there. I would say, if I was me, I'd kind of that Nick York situation of, yeah, the numbers aren't like blowing your mind in AA, but move them up to Worcester and see what you have. And I do kind of agree with the fact of pitching to AA, AAA may not be that crazy of a jump, just because the guys who throw hard aren't in the big leagues because they probably have no clue where it's going, right? Like, you don't just have a guy throwing 100 sitting in AAA. Like, they're not sitting in AAA because
the Red Sox do, but but
you know what I mean.
That's for bad reasons, though.
No,
nobody agrees with him being in AAA. But
yes, but like you don't have like some 28, 30-year-old, you know, and just throwing 98 to 100 in AAA. If they're in AAA, it's because they probably can't throw strikes, right? Which should hopefully make the bat a little bit easier because you know they can't throw a strike. So yes, you're still going to run into some top prospects, obviously, in AAA, but I do kind of agree with that point too of it not being the craziest jump in terms of pitching for hitters, at least. Outside of that, I do want to bring up the fact that Max Ferguson had a homer this week. He went 4 for 16. He also had 4 walks and 2 stolen bases. And then also add in that Drew Earhart went 3 for 6 with a couple doubles and a walk as well. So I think Earhart only played 2 games, but so nice couple games for him and Ferguson. They played 4
his mom threw out the first pitch on Mother's Day, and then he had a 2 RBI double later that game. I did want to mention that. I forgot about that. Thank you. So yeah, just a nice little. That's a good Mother's Day gift. I took my mom out for lunch, but you know, whatever, one up me and hit a 2-run double.
If you have a mom or something throwing a first pitch, or someone really doing a first pitch, or it's like a bobblehead night, especially if you're a position player, my take is that you should be forced to play. Like, the manager should be forced to write your name in the lineup.
I agree.
Like, if it's a starting pitcher with a bobblehead, that's different, right? Even a reliever, it's like, okay. But if it's a position player, they should be forced to play.
Yes, I agree.
Force them to play.
Yeah, if I know, like, they have the Cedar Rafaela bobblehead night coming up in
no, that already happened.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Yeah, because I was there.
Okay. Did you get one?
Yeah, I got the center field one.
Nice. And I'm assuming he played that day, right?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, yeah, that'd be weird. Everybody's got their Cedar Rafaela bobbleheads, and it's just like, yeah, he's on the bench. So yeah.
I think because the other bobblehead was Costa's bobblehead last year. I think he was still healthy. I don't remember. I think he was still healthy at that point. Because I'm pretty sure he played. Then the only other bobblehead game I've been to was Tyler Glasnow bobblehead with the Rays. And then that was...
I got a Lou Piniella bobblehead when I was younger. I went to a Lou Piniella bobblehead night for the Rays. It was a really tiny... It was like that big. But yeah, Lou Piniella. I also got a Carl Crawford bat that I still have somewhere.
Whatever it was a couple of years ago, right? I was at the game at Fenway when they did the Kike Hernandez World Baseball Classic bobblehead, and it was right after they had traded him back to the Dodgers, and it was just like, and there was this like note, it was this kind of like sad note on the side of it, like it was like personalized from Kike. It was like, sorry, I was terrible, and the Red Sox had to get rid of me, and everyone kind of hated me.
Poor guy.
With, well, whatever. But anyway, that was kind of. I still have it. So I have that somewhere.
Hey, at least it weren't. At least when it came to the Rays, they were advertising Randy Arozarena bobblehead night and thou name that we shall not say bobblehead night as well later that year, which never happened.
Never happened.
That's probably a big waste of money. Yeah, me and my brother used to play with this at the sunken living room in my Nan and Pap's house. We would have like a Nerf ball and we would play baseball. It would be like 2 a.m. and we'd be hitting it off like the plexiglass windows, and it was so loud. And I don't know how we never got screamed at, because we thought we were being quiet, and looking back on it, it's like, dear Lord, that was just the most amount of noise. But it's a cool bat, and it will always be somewhere in my room, even though Carl Crawford has had some issues both with Red Sox fans and legal. But
all real Carl Crawford has issues with Red Sox. Also, speaking of which, his son was just playing for Lehigh Valley this week.
Justin Crawford.
Yes.
Yep.
He's awesome.
He's good. Very good.
He's very fast. His walk-up song is Wanksta from 50 Cent, which is like Get Rich or Die Trying is my favorite album of all time. And he just stupid fast. Terrifyingly fast. That man hit the ball on the ground, and it was like, all right, well, that's a single. Doesn't matter. He's fun to watch. And I also got to see Andrew Painter, which was cool.
How did Painter look? Just
good and then bad. Like the first 2 innings were really good, and then all of a sudden he couldn't find the strike zone, and it got hard to watch for a little bit. He only threw, I think, 2 2/3 or 3 2/3, something like that. 3 innings, I don't know, I don't remember, but it was short, and there was way too many people in the stands or in the press box, so I sat in the stands for a little bit, and then it was raining, and then but yeah, he looked good. He looked fine. Not the first inning, I was like, oh damn, this guy's disgusting, and then the rest of the way, it was like, he just kind of, he's his AAA debut. Not surprised that he had some struggles, but Philly fans should be excited with him and Mick Abel both in AAA, and Justin Crawford now there. Lehigh Valley's got a lot of fun guys to pay attention to.
Oh, can I also make the point to Blaze Jordan? If he was with the Angels, he'd already be in the big leagues. So
yeah, shout out to Matthew Lugo.
Shout out.
Awesome. Triple for his first major league hit, which I thought was funny.
That would figure.
And then he hits a home run the next game. So good for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, pitchers? Question mark?
Oh yeah, I guess we haven't even talked about the pitchers yet. Well, I guess start with some promotion news. So right before we started recording, Andrew Parker and Josh Ball both reported, I believe, that Wyatt Olds and Alex Hoppe are both going to Worcester, and then we'll talk about who's going to, at least one pitcher that's going to take their place in Portland once we get to Greenville. Olds did spend a bunch of time last year in Worcester, and he really struggled, and so he started this year back in Portland, and he's looked really good so far this season. 2.50 ERA in 18 innings with 18 strikeouts. Kind of a little bit high on the walks, 11 walks, but he's 25 years old. He'll be 26 in August, so kind of made sense for him to be one that moved up. And then I've talked about Alex Hoppe quite a bit. He really kind of settled down so far this year. 17 strikeouts in 16 innings, similar, like decent number of walks, 10 walks, but I think has done a pretty good job of limiting some of the hard contact. He's only given up 1 home run so far this year, and is a hard thrower, and I think will benefit from moving up to Worcester. So good opportunity for those guys. And then somebody that made their AA debut this past week was Jeremy Wieland, who I don't think that the news had come out that he was going to move up to the Portland roster. I think that the reason why he got added to the Portland roster, and it makes sense because obviously he's left-handed, is that Hayden Mullins is dealing with shoulder fatigue. It sounds like, again, according to Andrew Parker, not anything too serious. It's just, needs to rest and build himself back up again a little bit. Nothing doesn't seem like seems the concern level is low. That's what Andrew said. So I think that really great to see. We had a pretty extensive discussion earlier this season about Jeremy Wieland and his really difficult journey through the minor leagues after he was drafted way back in 2020, and injuries and pitching in the WBC and fits and starts and setbacks and stuff like that. So getting that chance to finally go up to Portland after all this time is really great to see. I had written down, he went 3 innings in his Double-A debut, 1 run, 2 hits, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. So the only other guy that I'll just mention is that David Sandlin had a pretty good start this week. He did give up 5 hits, 3 earned runs, and a homer, but he had 9 strikeouts and no walks. And again, just want to credit Andrew for looking this up. That he had 20 whiffs in his start, which for the day, I think that was yesterday, Sunday, it was the most whiffs for anybody in Double-A. So on the season, he does have a 4.78 ERA. So that's a little high, as 26 hits and 27 hits in 26 innings, but he does have 28 strikeouts to just 9 walks. So I think that his control is really good. And that's been great to see, but I do think his command is what he has to work on, and making sure that this happens with a lot of power pitchers. They can, if they leave it in the zone, it's going to get hit and it's probably going to go pretty far. But for him, I think that's just what he has to work on, is his command, is making sure that he's sequencing the pitches right, and he's locating them in the zone correctly, depending on the hitter that he's going up against. It's just things that pitchers have to learn the higher up that they get. And I think that Sandlin, especially since he's going to have to be added to the 40-man after this year, I think they'll give him every opportunity to eventually move into a role in AAA, and he'll be added to the 40-man after this season. I don't really have a lot of doubt about
that. He looked really good. It's one of those things where that start kind of encapsulated him as a prospect, where I know Alex Spear talked to us about it, where they're intrigued by how hard he throws, how nasty his stuff is, but there's the question of, why does he keep getting hit though? They want to try to figure that out. So this was kind of one of those starts where he gives up a homer, he gives up 5 hits in 5 innings, he gives up 3 runs, but he's also dominating hitters for a large portion of the game. I'm pretty sure he set the first 9 guys down, and he had 6 strikeouts through 3 innings. So it's one of those things where you see why he's so highly regarded, but also you see that there are some clear things to work on. Connolly early piggybacked him. He also went 5 innings. That game went into extra innings. It was the second walk-off for Jhostynxon Garcia of the week. So he went 5 innings, 2 runs, only 1 earned, 3 hits in 5 innings, struck out a season high 8 batters, walked 2. Also, I don't know if you said that, but the 9 strikeouts was a season high for Sandlin. Early's got a 2.41, a 156 batting average against, 102 whip in 5 appearances. He's only made 2 starts though. He's kind of had bad luck where 2 of his appearances came on rehab assignments for, I think one was Bayo and one was Giolito. So he's he's kind of getting his season messed with, and he's been Portland's best pitcher to this point, best starting pitcher to this point. So it's kind of weird seeing him, he's highly regarded and he's been really good. So him kind of getting these weird situations thrown into him. And then he had a soreness. I don't think he was super injured or anything, but basically they just skipped a start. So he's had a weird start to his year, but he's been fantastic. 30 strikeouts compared to 9 walks in 18 2/3 innings. Tyler Uberstein had another really good start, 5 2/3, 2 runs. He was phenomenal through the first 5. I think he had only given up 1 hit and no walks, and 5 or 6 strikeouts and no runs. Kind of got hit around in the next inning. I think it was homer or double, single, and then he got taken out. But he's been fantastic on the year. 3.64 ERA, 29 2/3 innings. He has 35 strikeouts compared to just 4 walks. That will obviously play. I think he's been one of the biggest surprises of the minor league system as a whole this year. Just a guy who came back from Tommy John last year, didn't get to pitch much, doesn't throw super hard, but he's been so phenomenal, not walking people and showing really good command, putting the ball where he wants it. So that's good minor league depth, someone that I could see moving up and getting a chance in AAA at some point this year. And then Yordany Monegro only got to throw 3 innings this week because the game he was in, unsurprisingly, ended up getting rained out because that's just what Portland does. But he dominated three innings, didn't give up a run, 2 hits, struck out 3, only walked 1. The thing that stood out to me was he wasn't laboring. That's been like the thing with him this year is he has a 2.2 ERA, but he has a 270 batting average against 135 whip. In 16 and a third innings, he's only walked 5 batters, but he struck out 30, which is phenomenal. But he seems to be getting into a ton of like really long at bats, and then he'll end up giving up a single or something on it. So like the ERA is great, the walks are down, the strikeouts are up, but the amount of times it's been like the second inning and he's already at 50 pitches, and it's like, oh man, he's only going to get through 4 innings. So of course, on a day where he's being very efficient, the game gets ringed out and he only gets to go 3 innings. I think like he had a 7-pitch first inning or something like that. So positive start, frustrating that he only got to go 3 innings, but Monegro's been fantastic this year, and this was a very positive sign seeing him limit the pitches through 3 innings.
Definitely. I don't have anything else on the pitchers. Guys covered it really well. So with that, we'll be moving now to Greenville. Greenville went 2-4 against Rome. I was about to say the Rome Braves. They haven't been the Rome Braves for a couple of years now. But they are still the Braves' high A affiliate. And I think the most obvious of obvious places to start is just Franklin Arias. This is the guy who, as once Meyer and Roman Anthony graduate, I would not be shocked if he's the number 1 prospect in the system. I'm assuming he's going to jump Perales just for the sake that Perales is injured. That's not necessarily Perales moving down because he's injured, but just because Arias, the numbers he's putting up, it's going to start getting absurd at some point with him. This week he went 10 for 22, had a couple doubles. He didn't walk at all, but he also didn't strike out, so can't complain about it. Especially when you have 10 hits in a week. I mean, you're going to complain about a guy who has 10 hits in a week. You can't. I think just the thing with Arias, too, more than anything, is like he is starting to – he's like already having success against this high A pitching. And I don't want to like pose this question too early because I don't want us to like start getting too far forward thinking on Arias, obviously, because he's only 19 years old. And he's only been in high A for 2 weeks. But, I mean – he's already, it's 52 plate appearances, but he's got a 926 OPS. Yes, he could cool down a little bit, but like if he continues at this pace, like we're gonna be looking at a promotion at Portland with him at some point this year. Like it's getting a little bit absurd. Obviously, it does help that he did have time in Salem last year, played 36 games there. But like we might be looking at a Jhostynxon Garcia type year where he plays at 3 levels, or I don't want to say Roman Anthony because Roman Anthony did do it, but like that's obviously different. We don't want to put that much pressure on him, but the kind of year we could be looking at from Arias is like one of those special years where I know Christian Campbell just won minor league player of the year last year, but if Arias continues doing what he's doing, he's going to throw his hat in the conversation for that this year. And the Red Sox could go back to back on that award, which would be absurd. Just overall this year, Arias in 30 games, sitting 339 with a 406 on base and a 444 slugging. His slugging in Salem in those 19 games was 397. In the 11 games in Greenville, he's bumped his year-long slugging up to 444 already. And of note, he's got a 142 weighted runs created plus this year. Just absurd. The one thing that it's a small sample size so far in Greenville. He's walked 11.5% of the time, and he's only struck out 9.6% of the time. In Salem, he struck out 14% of the time and walked just 7% of the time. Obviously, like I said, small sample size. Both are arguably small sample sizes this year. So do take it with a grain of salt. But I do think it is very interesting to see that the walks have jumped up and strikeouts have dipped. Although, like I said, this week he didn't walk or strike out this week. So very interesting to see what Arias continues to do. I do want to hand it over to you, Jake. Just what does Arias need to do to just, I don't know, make us think even more highly of him? Like, I don't know if, like, just continue playing the way he is, obviously. But, like, I don't know if we can even think that much more highly of him at this point just because Yeah, small sample size, but he's been playing.
Save children from a burning orphanage.
Yes,
That's about the only thing I can think of.
Literally,
He used
like-
to rescue a cat out of a tree. Put his we need to see him walking old ladies across the street. Putting down his jacket over a puddle so somebody can walk over it. No, look, he's the man. Like I've just been so impressed with how much he has met every challenge that's been put in front of him so far as a professional. Again, 10 for 22 this week with 2 doubles. I think the thing about Arias is that we feel like maybe he's just like across the board so solid. There's maybe not one thing about him that stands out like way more than the others. I think that like he is just he's a very solid hitter. His hit tool is strong. He has shown power. He hasn't shown like a crazy amount of power, but again, that's, he's a shortstop, so I don't know how much crazy power we're going to see from him. He is so rock solid defensively at shortstop. Like you see so few of these guys that come up that are like plus defensive players at shortstop that can also hit. But so I think that the tools are just all there. They're all in that sort of, like I think our friends from Sox prospects talk about like a bucket of whatever. Like he's like a bucket of 50s and 55s, and maybe a couple he could get up to a 60 in a few different areas. But like he's like a bucket of 55s, and if you're a bucket of 55s, like that's a big leaguer. So no matter what, I think that he just has to keep doing what he's doing. I do think that it's possible that he could be on what we've called before the password track, where he gets to play at 3 different levels of the minors in 1 year. I definitely think we could see him in AA by the end of the season, and the sky feels like it's the limit for him if he can just like maintain those tools at the current level, even if he doesn't necessarily like improve one way or another in different areas. We have like a really, really solid top level prospect on our hands. Like Christian Campbell basically has like graduated from the minor leagues at this point, and I think that that now we're going to kind of start to see Arias mentioned as like kind of a top 3, possibly even a top 2 prospect once we see Anthony and Meyer get up there too. So he's that part of that next wave, and I think that like so far it's so impressive at 19 years old that he has met this challenge of Greenville that they've put in front of him, and he's done so well with it.
Can I make a weird comparison? This isn't like a player-to-player comparison, but like it makes me think kind of a little bit like almost like Xander Bogaerts almost in some ways, where like Bogaerts had the 2012 year where he played in high A and double A, and then in 2013 he ended up in the big leagues, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm not saying that Arias is going to rise to the minors that quickly, but like there is a little bit too, whereas like Bogaerts, I feel like is always looked at as like the kind of shortstop who's like the hit tool isn't like off the paper insane, the power's not off the paper insane, like the glove is solid, but obviously their work and did end up being question marks about his defense as short. But like there was never anything that was totally like absurd about Bogaerts, right? But turned into a all-star caliber shortstop. I feel like Arias has that potential chance where it's like he's not gonna have anything just jumping off the page, like you said, Jake, but is going to turn himself into a solid all-around shortstop who might even probably the fact that he's a little bit smaller than Bogaerts probably won't be as big, and so might help even at shortstop as well, help him continue to be solid defensively. I know when we talked to Alex Spear, there was a little bit like some people think he is a surefire shortstop. Other people are somewhat questionable on that. But if Arias he sticks at shortstop, I think he has that kind of trajectory where, like, in some ways similar to Bogaerts, not comparing the two types of players in terms of play style, but where could reach the majors at a relatively young age and could be the guy who you look at and go, yeah, that's going to be our franchise shortstop for the foreseeable future. But then the Red Sox still have Marcelo Meyer, which just makes it even more absurd, right? But I see that somewhat in Arias in Bogaerts in terms like they are kind of more all-around players instead of they're not like a different position, but like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., everyone was raving about the power before he hit the big leagues, right? Like it was 80 grade power just jumping off the paper, right? Arias doesn't have a tool like that, but you put them all together and it kind of becomes this complete package.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree with you. Franklin Arias, he's got a 6-game hitting streak going on. You mentioned the numbers already. The thing that stands out to me, I know you mentioned the massive jump in slugging percentage. The batting average and on base percentage are barely down. Like I think he's like 15 down on batting average, which sounds like a lot, but he's still hitting like 330 or 326 or something in high A. The on base percentage is down like 4. Like I think he was at 408 and he's at 404.
407, 404.
Yeah, okay. And then the slugging percentage is something ridiculous, like 525 or something in high A. So like there's just been such a significant bump in that. And that's, again, it's something we've talked about 1,000 times. It's just getting out of Salem. That was something I saw a lot when I would post the Franklin Arias clip, is people would be like, oh, but he's only hitting singles. He's hitting the ball hard. Like that. It's, yeah, you'd love to see him just hitting a ton of home runs or something, but I'm not going to be mad at a teenager hitting the ball hard in single A in a ballpark known for not being super home run friendly. So it's good to see him going to high A and immediately taking advantage of getting out of those parks. And the fact that there's been like zero, he's gotten there and been the shortstop. He's played second base a couple times, but like he's been the shortstop. He's leading off every game, and he is just so calm and prepared for the situation. There's been no like, oh, he looks overmatched. Like Greenville got one hit the other day. He had the one hit. Greenville had a couple not great offensive games this week, but Franklin Arias, as I said, with a 6-game hitting streak, was not one of the people who was having issues. So it's like you said, we're when everybody graduates, there's a very easy world where Franklin Arias is the new big name that everybody's focused on, the new top prospect. Obviously, he's already a top 100 guy. We're getting to that point where there's questions of how high will he go. Like it doesn't even feel crazy to say, oh, he'll be a top 20 guy. So the question is, how high up will he be? Like you said, there's a very real path for him to take that Christian Campbell journey of last year, where he goes from obviously Christian Campbell went from high A to triple A, but we're the Jhostynxon Garcia path where he goes from single A to double A. But the Christian Campbell path where he becomes someone that is universally considered one of the top 10, 15 prospects in baseball. And like, yeah, he very well could be. There's some very good players in the minors this year, but there is the start to this season, 339, 406, 444 slash line. It's not crazy to think Franklin Arias is in the conversation for minor league hitter of the year, minor league MVP. Outside of that, hitting wise, Antonio Anderson got called up this week, made his high A debut. He went just 3 for 22, but he showed signs of life towards the end of the week. He hit a double. He drove in 3. He's still hitting over 300 on the year between high A and single A combined. Playing a decent amount of first base. He played third, but I think he played first like 3 times this week. So that is clearly something that they are focusing on with him. And I am not worried about a slow start for him. Single A, this is a very big jump, single A to high A. Single A pitching has not been great this year. So this is going to be an adjustment period for him. I'm not going to be upset if he struggles for a couple weeks. I think he will figure it out. He showed last year when he was struggling that he's still able to contribute and get on base and stuff. So he won't be a massive hole in the lineup. And I think a big thing to note is they had him hitting 5th. By the end of the week, he was the number 4 hitter in the lineup. Where you hit in the minor leagues is very important. Like it shows what they think of you. And like this guy, obviously they had him near the top of the lineup for Salem the whole time. But like this is a guy that struggled mightily last year, and now he's up in high A, hitting 4th on a team that has a lot of very good players. Like Miguel Blaze is hitting like 6th for them most nights. So it's intriguing to see. Like they clearly are very high on him, and they have liked what they've seen from him. And then the only other guy offensively I want to mention is Zach Earhart. Obviously, I mentioned his brother. Well, Derrik mentioned his brother earlier, but then I just threw out that Drew Earhart had the 2-run double on Mother's Day when his mom threw out the first pitch. Zach Earhart should be joining his brother very soon. 315, 453 on base, 402 slugging, 8 doubles. Has yet to hit his first professional home run. But he's driven in 14 runs, scored 18 more. He's 7 for 7 on steal attempts. He's drawn 23 walks compared to 25 strikeouts. He is on a 13-game hitting streak. Like, this is a very good player. It was, I believe it was Sox Prospects. I don't remember if it was Ian or Chris, but one of them said, Zach Earhart's a very good player. He will, at the very least, get to AAA. Like, this is a very talented baseball player. And just because they're not saying, oh, he's definitely going to make it to the majors, making it to AAA is a hell of an achievement. But there's, like, this is a college athlete. He was a 4th round pick. Like, it's not like this is some random, 20th round pick, I guess, because that's how long the draft is. But he's proven more than enough. There's already a logjam in high A. The issue is there's kind of a logjam everywhere. The Red Sox minor league system's so ridiculously deep. Even if it's not like a top prospect, there's guys at every level that are producing, that are doing things. But Greenville famously has an outfield that has Miguel Blaze, Yoferi Rodriguez, and who am I blanking on outside of Zach Earhart? Oh my God, who am I blanking
on? Nelly Taylor.
Oh my God,
he had a really good week.
Who played well. Like, this is an outfield where they're already having issues trying to get everyone in every day. Someone like poor Colby Johnson is barely playing at this point. But Zach Earhart needs to get the call to AA very soon. Like I said, 13-game hitting streak. He's just high A pitching is doing nothing for him right now. Maybe when he hits his first high A home run, he hits that first professional home run, maybe that will be the benchmark for them to finally give him the call. But he's just been so phenomenal. He's much more athletic than I realized. Like, he's really good on the base paths. The walks are phenomenal. The on base percentage being 453 is ridiculous. He plays good defense. He's made a couple really good plays in the outfield this year. Get him out of there, clear up some log jams, and let's see what he can do in AA, because there's nothing more for him in high A.
Yeah. All right. I have nothing else in the hitters. I'm reeling right now. I don't know what the hell's going on. The Mavericks just won the draft lottery. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I saw that notification. I have the Red Sox game up on my phone.
Yeah.
That feels like hey, you guys made a really bad trade. Here's the first overall pick.
No, yeah, that's the thing. There's no karmic justice there. They make like the worst trade ever, and then they get the right to draft Cooper Flagg.
Yeah.
Who is a Red Sox fan? Do we know?
I would assume he's from Maine. I would assume.
Oh, he's from Maine.
He's from Maine. I would assume.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I went to school in Maine for a year, and all everyone would talk about when it came to basketball is, oh, we have Cooper Flagg. He's going to Duke in a couple of years. I'm like, who cares?
I mean, as somebody that's from a state myself that also has like no, like I literally think that native to New Hampshire, I think Matt Bonner is the only guy that's ever played in the NBA. And there are a lot of guys that have played at
great name.
There are a lot of guys that have played at like they did like post grad at like Brewster Academy and like Tilton Academy and places like that. Like I know Donovan Mitchell went to Brewster Academy. So like there's been a lot of guys that have played in the NBA that have played high school in New Hampshire,
but they're just not
private schools.
Yeah,
but only one guy I think ever. So I would say let Maine like allow them some.
I will say that towards Maine outside of the Portland Sea Dogs.
Technically, Duncan Robinson grew up in Newcastle, New Hampshire, which is like the only thing in Newcastle, New Hampshire is Wentworth by the Sea, the hotel. It's like the population is like 20, and it's like 20 of the richest people in the world. But I think he was born in Maine, I believe. He was, because there's no hospital in Newcastle, New Hampshire. It's tiny. It's right on it's like the very like top of the seacoast in New Hampshire, of the 18 miles of seacoast that we have. So
I'm not a conspiracy theorist. That is one of the few conspiracy theories I think is true. I think the NBA lottery is rigged.
Going back to the
Every
Patrick
time
Ewing lottery.
Patrick Ewing, the Pelicans, like they got sold and no one would buy them, and then all of a sudden, and like Chris Paul is gone and everything, and suddenly they get the first pick for Anthony Davis. The Magic with Dwight Howard, the Bulls with Derrick Rose, like it just, I feel like it's rigged. That's the one.
You could even argue Cleveland with LeBron. You could even make that argument.
Yes,
like
that's one of the few NBA or one of the few sports conspiracy theories.
Also, the Spurs getting Wembanyama, then now they have the second pick this year.
It happened with Tim Duncan too. They were a good team, and then all of a sudden,
Celtics got screwed.
Philly still gets the third pick, you know.
I don't know. I also don't necessarily mind in hindsight that the Celtics got screwed in the Duncan draft because it means that Rick Pitino could possibly still be the Celtics coach if they had drafted Duncan. So I'm all set on that. Anyway,
also, Duncan Robinson's Basketball Reference said he was born in Maine. So
that's what I said.
So I'm saying so there's only 2 players in the NBA history from Maine. And Duncan Robinson is one of them. The other one is some guy with the 1900s.
Yeah. Anyway, Greenville pitchers.
Pitching, yes. So, Greenville pitching. Peyton Tolley. I do want to talk about Peyton Tolley real quick. I do want to talk about Tolley because I said last week he can't do it again. He didn't do what he did last week again, but he still had a very good start. So I wasn't wrong, but he still had a good start. So that's kind of the point I was going for last week. So for continuity's sake, from last week's show to this week, he didn't do it again, but still a very good start. He went 5 innings, did give up 5 hits, but only 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. I do want to also mention, if you take out his first start of the year, his last 4 starts, 18 innings pitched, he has given up 12 hits, but just 2 earned runs and only 3 walks with 31 strikeouts. I think that would be as advertised, to say the least.
Yeah. What I'll say is that, he's. I think that this past week we found out that both him and Brandon Clark made the Baseball America Top 100, so that's pretty amazing for those guys. And you kind of mentioned the statistics that I was going to say, and I will just say this, that he gave up 6 earned runs in that first start. So his ERA is, I don't know what I didn't write it down, but he gave up 6 earned runs in that first start. And since then he's only allowed 2 earned runs, including 1 that he gave up this past week. He had 3 consecutive, scoreless outings. So I wanted to make sure that we talked about John Holobetz because he was, the guy we kind of at the end of a 2+ hour episode last week, we kind of just threw in there, John Holobetz guy was the player named later in the Quinn Priester trade. And he had been at low A in the Brewer system. And so it was nice that good opportunity for him to get to start up in Greenville here. And he had a really good debut. The only run he gave up was earned run he gave up was on a home run. He did give up 4 runs, but again, 3 of them were unearned. 5 innings, 4 hits, or 3 hits, the 1 earned run. He had 4 strikeouts and no walks. So definitely a decent organizational debut for him. I did want to say that I think, with all of the moves and things like that, we were kind of wondering who's going to slot in where, with a guy coming up to Greenville. Well, the opportunity, and I mentioned, I kind of hinted at this earlier, and that's that Dalton Rogers, we found out again from both Andrew Parker and Josh Ball, that Dalton Rogers finally, we've talked about this for a while, is getting the move up to Portland. So good for him. He's been in, the organization for a while. He was drafted in 2022 and spent a lot of time in Greenville. Most of, basically a good chunk of 2023, all of last year. This year, mostly a piggyback role. He's made 1 start, but 20 and 2/3 innings, 28 strikeouts, 10 walks, a 1.31 ERA. So he's only allowed 3 earned runs in 13 and 3 earned runs in those 20 and 2/3 innings. So I would say probably will continue to mostly work out of the bullpen, probably piggyback, make a bunch of, have some of the longer outings, but really happy to see Dalton Rogers get that a really well-deserved opportunity to move up to Portland. Again, similar thing. Hard to say that he had a lot more left to learn in Greenville and a lot to gain from being there, especially after he got off to such a good start this year. So good for Dalton Rogers.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued to see what his role will be in AA. Like you mentioned, he's been mainly piggybacking in High A, and the Red Sox just have so many starting pitching options basically at every level. So the Red Sox are getting demolished right now. By the way, they are absolutely bad. But someone just hit a 2-run homer. I think it is a 3-run homer. It's 9-0. This is bad. Yeah, Peyton Tolley looked awesome. It's good to see that even when he's not like utterly dominant, he's still ridiculous. He's still fantastic. People still aren't going to do too much against him. I really feel like at this point, I know it's not like we're 50 starts in, but it really feels like you could just kind of wash that first start away, chalk it up to it being his first start, it being in that ballpark. Like he just hasn't walked people since then. He struck out people at a ridiculous clip. He's not giving up not giving up runs or walks or runs, hits, whatever. I can't even talk because he's doing everything right. Brandon Clark struggled with his command a little bit this week, leading to a shorter start. He only walked 1 batter, but he hit 2. Do I have this right? Did he go 1 2/3 or 2 2/3? I could have swore he went 2 2/3, but I wrote down 1 2/3. So now I'm thinking I'm wrong because that feels shorter. Okay, 2 1/3. Wow, I wrote that down so wrong. Okay, so 2 1/3 innings. Struck out 6 batters. He did give up 2 runs, but only 1 hit, 1 walk, the two hit by pitch. It's good to see even when he doesn't have the command. Obviously, you prefer him to go more than 2 1/3 innings. But even when he doesn't have the command, it's not like things completely got away from him. He was still striking people out. There were still a ton of really good pitches. He was hitting. One of the annoying things about watching minor league baseball is sometimes the angles are terrible, and a lot of the broadcasts don't show velocity. But the announcers did announce it sometimes. I know he hit 98 on his fastball a couple times. So like the velocity was still there. It still looked really good. He just sometimes didn't know where it was going. And like Jake said, Peyton Tolley and Brandon Clark, both Baseball America top 100. Someone that didn't make the top 100 was Juan Valera. And he responded by having easily the best start of the season for him. 5 2/3 innings, 4 hits, no runs, struck out a season high 8 batters, only walked 1 person. Again, we're going to say it every single time. He's 18 years old. He's in High A. He's 18 years old. Absurd. 30 strikeouts compared to just 8 walks and 26 1/3 innings. He does have a 5.47 ERA, a 2.86 batting average against, 1.44 WHIP. But this stuff is very real. He's had a couple of good starts where just like a couple things get away from him. It was really nice to see him put this all together. And I mean, like, 5 2/3 in High A is a very good start. Like they aren't going to let you just go, 7-8 innings. I say that someone against Greenville this week, I believe, through a complete game. Greenville was just doing nothing. It was the game where they had 1 hit, and it was Franklin Arias who got a hit in the first at-bat of the game. But like an 18-year-old in High A, they're not going to overextend you. So seeing him go 5 2/3, that shows you how good he was with his not command, but like his efficiency. There we go. Couldn't think of the word efficiency. Because they are on pitch counts. Like I believe Peyton Tolley is basically like 70 pitches, and I think like he threw 71 this week because that's what the last batter got him to. So to get through 5 2/3 is awesome. I like the fact that they gave him a chance to go out there in the 5th inning and see if he could get through it. The 6th inning. This was just a phenomenal start. Someone that I think everybody in the Red Sox fandom was a little shocked to see not in the top 100. Like, I think that was one of the big things I saw on Twitter, people saying like, oh, wow, Juan Valera, that's shocking that he's not on there. Obviously it hasn't been like the most majestic start to the season for him, but I do think that the raw stuff is very obvious, and we're seeing a lot of good signs. And obviously this was the best sign. So I think we'll see him on the top 100 at one point. And I think that that's just ridiculous to think about the fact that the Red Sox added 2 new pitchers to the top 100. There's another one right on the cusp who has a very clear path to getting into the top 100. And then they have Luis Perales, who's injured, who was, I believe, number 57 before he got hurt. Like the reports of the Red Sox pitching demise was very exaggerated. Obviously, these are mainly new people, but it's just there's so much pitching talent in this system, and it's fun to see after years of trying to argue that there is pitching talent for there now to be very clear. No one is going to argue against it now, and I think that's very cool. We're at a point where no one is going to say the Red Sox need pitching prospects. No, the Red Sox have pitching prospects, and everyone will agree with that. No one's going to argue that. Getting this from Juan Valera, literally, I believe on the day that Baseball America's Top 100 came out, was very cool, because that was one of the big talking points was, oh, shocking that Juan Valera is not on there. And then he puts together possibly the best start of his minor league career. It's very cool.
I will just say on the Juan Valera, and I will kind of bring it full circle, kind of connect to RS. It's kind of crazy that you have 2 teenagers in Greenville just performing the way they are.
3, Antonio Anderson.
Well, that too. That too. But didn't even think about that.
Wait.
No, is he 20? Is he 20 or is he
4? 4, Nizan Zanatello.
Oh, right. True. Yeah, 4. Jeez. But yeah, having multiple teenagers, we'll just put it like that. Having multiple teenagers in high A performing, especially with Arias, but even Valera this week with his nice start and performing at the level that they've been. I think it's something that I feel like is very rare. This is going to be rare. I don't know if we're going to have another time when we have 4 teenagers in high A, especially when one of them is Franklin Arias doing what he's doing. And then the other one is Juan Valera, who starts the season in high A. I think that, like, I think we've said it we said it last week, that Greenville is the team to watch, and I mean it is. There's absolutely no lie to that. It absolutely is the team to watch. But I think it's also too, like, it's a super young team. I think we also have to remember that too. Remember it was Greenville won the South Atlantic League Championship. Not like it was in 2023, right? But you could make an argument that this team might be more exciting than that team, right? Now, all the people on Greenville right now aren't going to be there the entire season, but I do think it is going to be interesting to see how well Greenville has. Obviously, they went 2-4 this week, but with just the pure amount of talent they have, I think it's going to be interesting. Jeez Louise. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the season unfolds for them and how they do record-wise. Right now they're 14-19, but I feel like they have too much talent to just be 14-19. So I'm going to be very interested to see how the season plays out for Greenville as a whole, as a team, because we obviously, like, yes, player development is the most important thing in the minor leagues, but winning still is important. I think a lot of people lose that sometimes, and I mentioned it a lot the first year we did the show, especially because Greenville was doing well. It is still important. I'll mention it right now. It is still important to win in the minor leagues. And at the absolute least, it at least develops a winning culture at the least, right? But winning does help, does mean things. And also, too, if you're winning, your players are probably playing good, which has to help with development. Can't hurt. So I don't have anything else left on Greenville. So I think now's the perfect time. We'll take the trip to Salem. And I want to kind of flip it. I do want to start with the pitching. There was a lot of offense at Salem, but I want to start with the pitching. Salem played Fayetteville, the Astros low A affiliate. But I want to start with Chase Spragg. Continuing, he had a start this week. He went 4 2/3, only given 1 hit, no runs. Did hit a batter, but you could argue it's better than walking the guy, less pitch. You could make the argument. I'm going to keep that. That's going to stay, I think, forever, even if it's not really true. Don't care. He also did walk someone, but he did have 6 strikeouts in his start. And we've said it continuously with him. Just it's a guy to root for, right? Where is he from? Was it? I know Sox Pasta hasn't been born in Norwell. I don't know if that's.
From Hanover.
From Hanover. So, but local kid, right? Someone who I feel like Red Sox fans can kind of be like, that's a local kid. Let's root for him. Went to BC High for his high school. Obviously, went to school in North Carolina, but he's continuing. Oh my gosh, jeez, I can't speak. You feel like last week he had a nice start, if I remember correctly, and this week he's kind of continued on that, having another solid start. And then also too, we have the good old ear licker, Austin Ehrlicher is he had a start where he went 3 innings, only gave 2 hits, no runs, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. He was one of the guys last year that just stayed in Salem the entire year. Also, but he only pitched 2 games, so it doesn't really say much. Doesn't really say much, but it felt like last year there was a ton of guys moving in and out of Salem, and we the 2 appearances he did have last year, he was good. He had 10 strikeouts in 6 innings, only 1 walk, but he had shoulder inflammation, and then he was out for the rest of the year, right? So him coming into this year, and he has that. Oh, jeez, Louise, my throat is like gone. He's had 6 appearances this year. He hasn't had the greatest of starts to the year, but him having a 3-inning start without giving up any runs, the 5 strikeouts, just the 1 walk. Hopefully it is kind of him getting on track, getting into a groove of things. Because, like I said, those 2 appearances he had last year, he looked good. Shoulder injuries, somewhat similar to elbow in case of you never know how guys are going to return after them. And he's 21, so he's still relatively young. We talk about having the teenagers in Greenville, and that's great and all, but 21 is, typically the age you would be when you're coming out of college. So there's not, I think for Ehrlicher, it's just going to be kind of getting on track, continuing having nice starts, because I think his ERA right now is in the 6s, but we saw last year in those 2 appearances, like I said, he was good. So hopefully this start will kind of get him on that track, get him into a groove, get him going and pitching well continuously, because I remember it was a whole thing at the beginning of last season. I'm like, oh, hey, Ehrlicher. Yeah, Ehrlicher. Guy, he's pitching good. His name's Ehrlicher. Obviously, it's not Ehrlicher, but I thought that was kind of a little fun point last year that didn't get to continue, unfortunately. So hopefully we can bring that back this year. Maybe we should get shirts that says I'm an Ehrlicher.
So apparently Austin Ehrlicher, which is what his name is pronounced, is never coming on our show. So thanks, Derrik. And it's you said Sprague before. It's definitely Sprague. So
hold on. We cannot get on me for mispronouncing names when you have said Eduardo Rodriguez.
He's not in the organization anymore. What does it matter?
Still,
every Yankees fan apparently thinks he's the next Cy Young, but whatever.
Well, they would think that. They don't know how to evaluate prospects properly.
Ehrlicher. Let's resolve to call him by his name. Anyway. I'm never gonna
Sprague. Whatever. I'm never gonna get that right. We'll just.
Well, hopefully. I mean, it's like we talk about. He's a good story. He's a local guy. Hopefully, he makes it to the big.
But I will never get his name right continuously, like multiple times in a row. I might get it right once. That means the next time I'm messing it up.
But look, remember you were really afraid about getting a certain prospect's name wrong, who's actually now is a regular, somebody we talk about every week.
What, Jhostynxon?
No, Jordani.
Oh, you're. Oh.
You got it, but you did get it right though. We haven't messed it. I've never messed that one up.
Yes.
Anyway, some broadcasters have been fired for messing up similar words and names. Anyway, Blake Aida had a great start. 5 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 0 earned runs, 4 strikeouts. He hit a guy again. Same thing. It's like saving some pitches by hitting a guy. I'm not necessarily opposed to it as long as it's like an off-speed pitch and you're not going to get in trouble for it. Yeah, that was kind of all I had on most of the stuff I had for this week for Salem was on the offensive side. So
I did have something else on the pitching side of things. So unless you have something else on it,
no, that's it.
You can go and then I'll throw in what I have.
Manuel Medina pitched in a game. 2 1/3 innings. He only gave 1 hit, no runs, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. I just wanted to bring him up because he was acquired in the minor league portion of the Rule 5 draft this past offseason. And over the last kind of 3 years, he's kind of been up and down between the FCL and low A with Miami. And he had a 0.80 something ERA in the FCL last year. It's the FCL, doesn't mean that much. He's 23 years old, right? But they took him in the minor league portion of the Rule 5, and he's pitched in just 2 games this year, but he's got 8 strikeouts and 1 walk in 5 innings and hasn't given up a run. So who knows? Could be interesting.
Yeah, for him, I basically had the same thing acquired in the Rule 5 draft, minor league portion. Marlins, left-handed reliever. He's made 2 appearances in the Red Sox organization, 5 innings, no runs, 2 hits, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk. The big thing for me, in his first appearance, he got a save, and in his second appearance, he got a win. I'd be very intrigued to know how many people have started a career with an organization like that, getting a save and a win. And then with Sprague, I just wanted to say, the trajectory of him so far has been wild. 2 2/3, 7 hits, 6 runs, 5 earned. 3 innings, 8 hits, 6 runs, 4 earned in his first 2 starts. He had a 14.29 ERA following those 2 games. And then the next game was 5 1/3, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts. The next game was 5 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, no walks, 9 strikeouts. And then this time 4 2/3, a hit, no runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. So the walks are down. He walked 3 people in his first outing, and then since then he's only had the 1 walk. The strikeouts are up immensely. The hits are down a ton. Obviously, he's not giving up the runs. Very quick turnaround. Like the overall numbers still don't jump out at you. 4.79 ERA, 2.94 batting average against, 140 WHIP. But the last 3 starts have been phenomenal. Obviously, it's the same thing with Peyton Tolley. Like, you can't just throw out starts. But they were his first 2 professional starts. It's not surprising that he had some issues. He's struggling with things. Maybe they're having him work on certain things. And clearly he's getting more comfortable. Clearly the things that they have him working on are working. Very, very positive start. Just like another college guy who is starting to look like he's more advanced than the level. And again, a situation just where the Red Sox, especially the lower levels, have so many talented pitchers. Blake Aida, Jake mentioned him. He has a 2.73 at the level. He's had 2 starts where he had like a no-hitter going into the 6th inning. This is someone who has looked very advanced for the level, but the Red Sox just don't really have places to put people right now. There are people in high A that need to get moved up. There's people in double A that need to get moved up. But you can't just keep moving people up. You have too many log jams. You can't, because if you're calling people up without someone going to the majors, that means you're either cutting someone got hurt, or someone's getting sent down. So I think it's just one of those things where we're probably going to see people like Sprague and Aida making more starts in single A than they'll probably need to. But getting great starts out of them in single A, even if at some point we feel like they shouldn't be there anymore, is not something to complain about. And obviously, like, Sprague still has things to work on. I mentioned the numbers still aren't great, but back to back, really, really, really impressive starts. A very positive sign, and that's really all I had to say on the pitching side. Plenty on the hitting side.
There's a lot on the hitting side. I think we might. I don't remember the last time. Obviously, I don't remember off the top of my head, anyways, because my memory sucks. But I don't know when the last time someone would have hit 3 home runs in a week for Salem. Yes, they weren't playing at home, but it's probably been a little while. And that's what Fraley Encarnacion did this week. He went 7 for 22, couple of doubles, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs. He had 1 walk. He did strike out 7 times, but he also stole a base. He's got 7 home runs this year. If he stays in Salem for a little bit longer, depending on, because there isn't really anywhere for him to play in Greenville if he were to get called up. I don't know what the Salem home run record is since they've moved to being a low A team, but whatever it is, that might be in danger because he's already at 7 and we're not even 2 full weeks into May. So, because I think Big Al led the team last year with 11 was it?
In 2022, in 59 games, Nico Cavadas had 14 home runs in single A.
Yeah,
in 59 games.
That's crazy.
And then he had 10 more in 37 games in high A, and then 2 more in 24 games in double A.
That's just
26 homers in 120 games that year. He was fun to watch. He was fun to watch.
That is absurd. That is actually
that's just
absurd.
that's how crazy. And I'll point out that Encarnacion had 2 home runs all of last season in 80 games in Salem. he spent the whole year that year. He played 80 games and only had 2 home runs. He already has 7 in 29
And
games.
it was
this
something
His slugging percentage is almost higher than his OPS from last
Yeah,
year.
it's like doubled up almost.
it's something we mentioned from last year is he hits the ball hard. Like it wasn't a case of infield singles and bloops. He hit the ball hard. It's just that wasn't translating to home runs, and it's translating to home runs now. So he's got the launch angles up. Obviously, it must be, and just a little bit better luck. He's doing it at parks that aren't Salem that will take home runs away from you.
He still doesn't walk a ton. He's only got 3 walks this year. But, I mean, of note, he's been hit by a pitch 4 times. Last year, he only had 12 walks, but he was hit by a pitch 9 times. So it might just be a guy that gets hit by a pitch a lot. I don't know. That is interesting because considering he, like I said, he's 3 walks in 29 games isn't a lot. But he's, I guess, gotten 4 more. I put free in air quotes because it's not free. You're getting hit by a pitch. It's not free. You got to take a little bit of pain to get that base. But he's gotten on base 7 times via walk or hit by pitch, which sounds a lot better than just 3 walks. The 9 doubles, 1 triple, that's 17 extra base hits. Yeah, it's been a really, really good year for him so far. And I brought it up earlier this year. That's a guy who at one point was a guy who signed for over $1 million. Yeah, obviously, international signings, the dollar amount doesn't necessarily matter in some ways because a guy who signed for 10,000 could become a big leaguer, and a guy who signs for $1 million could never make it past high A, right? But clearly, they saw something in him to give him that more than $1 million signing bonus, and he is having a good year so far. So that is very nice to see.
I know you mentioned how many times has someone hit 3 home runs. Like it's crazy to talk about someone hitting 3 home runs in a week. He wasn't the only one that was hitting home runs this week. Yoelan Cespedes hit his first 2 homers of the year this week, and Starlin Nunez hit home runs in back-to-back games. Cespedes had a very strange week. He started the week 0 for 7 with 7 strikeouts in his first 7 at-bats, and then he crushed a home run. And then the next game, he went 3 for 5 with a home run. It's very important to remind people that this is a very good prospect. Obviously, maybe not the most a disappointing start to the year for him, but a ton of time to turn around. And the counting stats aren't bad. 237 average, 288 on base, 419 slugging, 7 doubles, 2 triples, 2 homers. He's going to get a ton of opportunities this year. He's batting first or second every day. Jhostynxon Gonzales is taking the leadoff spot sometimes. Starlin Nunez has been very electric. I'm still intrigued. It could have been personal issues. It could have been disciplinary. I have no idea, but Sox Prospects still has on his thing that he missed time last year for non-injury issues. And I'm still just very intrigued as to what that was. He has been so fun to watch. He's such an electric player, switch hitter, infielder. He's got 3 doubles, a triple, 4 homers. He's got 4 steals. He's got 22 RBIs. He has been just awesome. Tends to hit like 7th or 6th, and he's just such a good spark near the bottom of the lineup. And then my big thing with Jhostynxon Gonzales, made his single A debut this week. He went just 2 for 17, which is a 117 average with a double and an RBI. However, he did draw 4 walks. He was hit twice, only struck out 3 times. So he has more walks than strikeouts already. He's got a 348 on base, which is very solid. It's so funny to see him playing games. He's just massive. Fraley Encarnacion is listed at 6'2". Jhostynxon Gonzales is listed at 6'4". So either Fraley Encarnacion is not 6'2", he's much smaller, or Jhostynxon Gonzales is not 6'4", he is much taller. Fraley Encarnacion at one point, shockingly, hit a home run, and Jhostynxon Gonzales was on base, and he was waiting for him at home. And when they high-fived, Jhostynxon Gonzales looked like he would, Fraley Encarnacion went up to his shoulder. The man just dwarfs people. And it is hilarious to remind yourself that he very recently turned 18 years old. He turned 18 in December. He's massive. He already looks good. He already looks comfortable at the plate. Sometimes the swing looks a little weird. I think that's just because of how tall he is. When he makes contact, it looks really smooth. one of the things that shocks me is, or I shouldn't say shocks me, it surprises me. He played in all 6 games this week. Designated hitter twice, and he appeared in center for the other 4 games. Last year in the DSL, he only played 2 games in center, 14 in right, and 32 at first base. We have talked extensively over the last couple of weeks how little first base depth the Red Sox have in their minor league system. And I know obviously first base isn't like the sexy position for a prospect, but you have a guy who was mainly a first baseman last year who you are now using. Obviously, it's only been 6 games, but who has only played center field in the field so far, on a team that has so many outfield prospects and already has very good outfielders in the majors. So that's just a little shocking to me. I'm assuming he'll still get time at first base, but I was just a little surprised that they immediately made him just like strictly center field week 1. I thought that he would get called up and kind of get a ton of playing time at first base. He's obviously got a massive build. He'd be a huge target there. But they know a lot better than me. They know, I trust that they know what they're doing. They've done very well developing prospects recently. And it could just be a situation where you put him in center until you feel he can't play the position. You know, maybe they're thinking if he continues to grow and body fill out and stuff, he won't play there long anyway. Maybe they're seeing what he has for the time though. He really doesn't look bad. Like he looks a lot better there than I feel like you would think with him being that big. You would expect him to look a little like lumbering, a little goofy out there, but he's very smooth. The first play of note for me was like someone hit a double off the wall, and he just like he played it very well. He got the ball back in to keep it to just a double and not let it stretch into a triple. And it's like that's not the flashiest play in the world, but it was very fundamentally sound, which getting that from an 18-year-old is very important. But yeah, my biggest takeaway with him is just he is not 6'4". This man is a absolute unit of a person. And I feel like those are probably maybe the measurements from last year. And I'm interested to see if he gets new measurements now that he's in Salem, because I refuse to believe he's only 6'4". It looks like a meme. It looks like you're playing like backyard baseball, and everyone is Pablo Sanchez and Dante Robinson, and you're Keisha Phillips, who is just bigger. Ernie Steele.
I was just gonna say
everyone.
that. I was gonna say Keisha Phillips.
Like I when I posted his single, like 30 people did the meme of like from Benchwarmers where it's like I am 12 and it's the picture of the adult playing in the league. This is a grown ass man who is 18 years old, and obviously a very good prospect. But I think that adds to the aura is just how freaking huge this guy is, because it makes it that much more fun to watch him. You know, he does a cool thing and it's like, wow, he did that and he looks like that. That's ridiculous. So maybe not the best first 6 games in single A, but a lot of positives to build off of. And I refuse to believe he's only 6'4".
Well, if they don't get new measurements this year, I would assume they're going to get new measurements next year during spring training, I would assume. I just want to run through all the home run hitters in Salem this week. Obviously, Encarnacion had the 3. Cespedes and Starlin Nunez both had 2. But then also Yosandar Asensio, Claver Salazar, and Nathaniel Newton all had 1 homer themselves. So a total of 6 different home run hitters. And then between the 6 of them, they combined for 10 homers off the 10 homers. Pretty solid power hitting weekend for Salem. Something we don't get to say a lot. And then on top of that, there were extra base hits. I know Encarnacion had a couple doubles as well on top of it. The only other guy I really wrote down was Andrew Mussett. He went 4 for 14 with a double and 3 RBIs and 3 walks this week. So add that to the list of extra base hits, the double he hit. Overall, just a very solid week. Jake, do you have anything else in Salem?
No, I'm good. You guys covered everything.
All right. Well, with that, it's time to now flip to Jake's favorite segment. I would assume.
I don't know that I would say that. It's I love all the segments.
But it is time for the FCL minute. That's typically never a minute because it's either longer or, like last week, really short. Jake, what do we have for the FCL minute?
Well, yeah, we talked a little bit about Conrad Kaysen. He made a start, and then he also did hit a little bit, but didn't really play a lot over the course of the week. The big name to mention is Enddy Azocar, who went 10 for 21. Has gone 10 for 21 to start the year. I'm including, and they talked about this on the Sox Prospects podcast this past week, where it's like weird that they like start on Saturday, they don't play Sunday, and then they pick up again on Monday. That's how the season starts. In the FCL, Sunday is the off day. But anyway, so far to start the season, Azocar is 10 for 21 with 2 doubles and a triple. He was somebody that definitely came in to this season with a little bit more hype around him. He was pretty good in DSL last year, and not like blow away numbers like Justin Gonzales or what have you. 266 average. He did sign for $40,000 before last season, and I have to say that when I looked up his Sox Prospects page, and it said that he was born on February 24th, 2007, I just no, no, it cannot be correct. The Sox Prospects guys actually have his age wrong. He's 18. He's not 17. It says 17 on his if his birth date is correct. But yeah, February 2007. That blows me away. But anyway, so exciting start for him. A few other guys that got off to decent starts. Avinson Pinto, 6 for 13 with 3 runs. A double and a triple. Gerardo Rodriguez, who's listed as a catcher, went 5 for 16 this past week. And then on the pitching side, debut at the FCL level for our guy Yoiker Fajardo, went 2 2/3 innings with 3 strikeouts and 3 walks. A few guys got off to decent starts. Like I mentioned, Kaysen, he had, we mentioned him last week. Tejahari Wilson had made 2 appearances out of the bullpen, 4 innings, did have 3 walks, but had 5 strikeouts. And I will mention that Dalvinson Reyes made a start. He only lasted 1 inning. He gave up 4 runs, didn't strike anybody out, walked 3. So a little bit of a slow start for Dalvinson Reyes, who is another prospect of some repute. So anyway, that's all I got for the FCL minute.
I just want to throw in Conrad Kaysen didn't play this week, which I thought was
He didn't.
I thought was a little strange. I don't know if that's like he pitched the first game of the year, and then he was the DH, I think 2 games later, right? Or the next game, one of the 2.
It was the second game. So it was
the second game. Okay, yeah, because they had the day off. Yeah. So,
yeah, they have the day off.
Yeah. So that's just very interesting to me. Like, I don't know if there's something going on there, or if it's just they have this plan with him for a little bit where it's going to be he pitches, he hits, and then he gets the week off. But very, very intriguing because he's someone that I could see not being there super long. So I'm curious what the plan is with him. But I just feel like that's a little something to note.
We need a get a shirt that says the Yoikster.
The Yoikster.
Hardo. The Yoikster.
Need it.
Just
need it.
The Yoikster. Just a big arm coming out. I'm not throwing a fastball and just the Yoikster right across the top. Let's make it happen. We got some t-shirt ideas, Jordan. We're cooking them up here on the Minor League Show. Cooking up all the t-shirt ideas. With that, it's now time to move to Guess the Prospect. Everyone's favorite segment of all time, of all history of segments. Everyone's favorite thing of all time. With that, this is another normal Guess the Prospect. No special ones as of today. Maybe next week. We'll see. This prospect was born in Bensalem, Pennsylvania.
Oh my God, I know this.
On November 17th, 2002.
Oh my God, I know this.
Is it
Oh my God, I know this. This is going to piss me off. I'm not going to get it right.
Is it Brady Tygart?
No.
Okay.
This prospect went to the same college as former MLB pitchers Jamie Moyer and Jimmy Yacobonis. and this college was also attended by former Red Sox prospect Jordan DiValerio.
Is it John Hollabets?
No. Oh my God, I know this. It's Matt McShane.
It is.
Oh, yes.
Matt
Ah.
McShane.
That's a good, yeah.
I had to get the Jimmy Yacobonis in there. Had
Yes.
to. The Jimmy Yacobonis.
Amazing.
The second
Also,
you
shout out
said Ben
Jordan
Salem, I was
DiValerio.
like, I've seen that like 12 times.
Yeah. Also, shout out Jordan DiValerio as well. I think he's pitching an indie ball. So shout out old friend for the Red Sox organization. The rest of the I guess clues are kind of or simple. Listed at 6'4", 220, $150,000 signing bonus. Bats and throws right-handed. Pitcher, not drafted by the Red Sox. Acquired this past offseason, and then it's pitched in Salem and Greenville in 2025. But I guess the real kind of cool fact was that he went to the same college as Jamie
crushed
Moyer.
Here.
Yep,
Getting
same
crushed
college as
here.
Jamie Moyer, and then Jimmy Yacobonis. Because that's a fun name. That's a fun name to say.
That is a fun name to say.
It's fun.
So with that, I think we should all get Yacobonuses for having great episodes.
Oh! Ew.
How old was Jamie Moyer when he like retired?
He was like
48?
49. I was just talking about
49?
him with somebody the other day. Let's see.
Him and John Franco or Julio Franco were the two that like just refused to retire.
He was 49 when he his last outing was on May 27th, 2012, and he was
5 innings, 7 earned. Ooh.
49 years old.
With the
49
Colorado
years and
Rockies.
191 days. With the Rockies, yeah, at that point. I love Jamie Moyer.
They got a World Series with the Phillies in 08, so
Absolutely.
I guess it was worth it to stick around that long.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, he was awesome.
Yes, and then arguably more importantly, just for the sake of giving us an amazing name, Jimmy Yacobonis also went to the College of St. Joseph's. So, or St. Joseph. So that's what it was. He was also, just a funny note, from Pennsylvania, was drafted by the Pirates, and then was one of like 10 trades the Red Sox made with the Pirates this offseason.
Yeah, that Red Sox Pirates connection has been going crazy since the Quinn Priester Nick York trade.
So the Red Sox are going to trade for Paul Skeens, right?
I saw people discussing about how they should trade him, which is just the most ridiculous thing in the world.
But I agree. Like what somebody said, this is like you cannot properly value.
Yeah,
You can't.
Like there's no way you could get anywhere like right now. Like there's no way that you could properly get value for what Paul Skeens is worth. Based
But
off
it's also
his
the
salary and his
Pirates,
performance.
so
Well, I think this is a whole other.
they've done stupider things.
If anyone's actually still listening, I feel like the Charrington like firing Derek Shelton is like it's his last chance, really. Like, because he knows that he's like this is the like the GM firing the manager. It's like the last card that they can play before they know that they're next. So I think that like, I know that Charrington knows that but I also know Charrington 100% would never want to be the guy that traded Paul Skeens. Like, so I think that I'm just saying, like, I think that if you're going to trade him, you have to wait until like he maybe once there's like, because after next season, right, is when he would hit arbitration. So like, then you can kind of gauge it a little bit better. Like because at that point he'll be making probably somewhere in the $3 to $5 million range. So at least that's easier than like him making 800,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just don't think there's any way possible that you could get equal value in a trade for Skeens. And there's just no way. The Red Sox
According
could
to baseball trade values, it's possible. Not that we're trusting the website,
Okay.
but I'm just saying.
That's we've really gone off the rails when we start talking about that stuff, because that has no basis whatsoever in reality. But what I'm saying is like the Red Sox could trade all like 15 of their top prospects for Skeens, and I still don't really even think it would be the same value.
Yeah, like it's a Cy Young guy for the next 15 years who's
Right.
already proven it in the majors. Like it's not like this is a prospect who it's like, yeah, he could be good. It's like, no, he came up and was the best pitcher in the National League last year. Like, he was the AL or the NL All-Star starter.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree with you guys. I'm just it would be funny if just Charrington just said, Bob Nutting, you suck. Out goes your crown jewel. I'm going out the door anyways. Why not? It's never going to happen, but it would be
It's not.
hilarious.
It's not. Everyone would
hilarious.
get fired. Every
Yeah.
single person in the Pirates organization would be fired. Like you could be.
I don't know if Nutting
you could be a
would want to
janitor.
file that
A
much
janitor would
paperwork.
get
He doesn't
fired.
want to file the paperwork to sign
Yeah,
the
that's a good point. Just want the paperwork.
But no, with that, we're going to wrap it up. As always, for Jake and Hunter, my name is Derek. Thank you for tuning in to the Minor League Show once again for episode 469, and we will see you next time.